and just give it a little accent. Okay, before I go to the next step, I want to show you what the two plates look like. Just want to show you the main differences. Notice that there's a V basically, right? So left and right, be sure these are on the right side. And, whoops, whoa. And of course, this is what it looks like on the other side. For the next step, I'm going to use a NEMA motor. We're going to take one of these stepper motors out and get ready to put it on one of the plates. One thing I want to point out is one of the things in the instructions says be sure you use the NEMA motor with the short cable. There's two of them with short cables, and the cable ends up being about 12 inches long, so be sure you use one of those for this step. Next, we're going to get a motor coupler. You're going to slide one of the motor couplers onto the shaft. Until it stops. And then tighten it down. Okay, for this step, you're going to need the plate with your wheels on it. And I already put this on previously when I did the other plate. So basically just rinse and repeat on that one, but be sure you put it all on the right side, okay? Now, the other items you're going to need are the 3M or M3 flat washers, the M3 split lock washers, the spacers skinny, 8 mm long. I want to make this clear, these are the spacers for the motor, not the 1/4 inch spacers, so don't pick these up and go to put the motor on with these, okay? You might think it's the right ones because there's just 4 in there, but trust me, this is the proper spacer. And then the M3x20 machine screw. Take your motor and put it through, don't take your motor and put it through there. What I'm going to do, I'm going to flip my plate over and I'm going to put one screw, I think, in each hole. We'll see how it goes. I'll try it. You see me dropping all this. Remember, this is not a perfect video. I'm going to take out 4 spacers. And 4 washers. And 4 flat washers. Now, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to put them all in there, flip it over, And I'm going to put my spacer on. Okay, so for this step, you're supposed to take one screw, one lock washer, one flat washer, like that. Then you're going to put it in the hole from this side. And then you're going to slide the spacer onto that. And then you're going to put the motor through the hole. And the wires are going to be facing the flat side of the plate. Now repeat that 3 more times. Okay, I've got all mine in, but I did not tighten them. I'm just gonna put them finger tied for now, just while I'm working with them. Take the slack out. And then I'm gonna have to do my best to center this in this hole. Once I get it center, I'm going to go ahead and tighten it down some. I'm not going to bear down on this too much, but I'm going to tighten it. For this step, you're going to need the homing switch kit if you ordered it. The eccentric spacers, the regular spacers, the M530 machine screws, and the nylon locking nuts. Okay, this is the plate you're going to start with. Notice there's notches at the top indicating the top. These holes here will receive the eccentric reducers on the opposite side. So we're going to take a bolt, put it through the hole, put an eccentric reducer on, then a V-bearing, and then a walnut, just like that. Of course, do the other one on the other side the same way. Turn it around. Do the same thing here. Eccentric reducer on the bottom. V-wheel. Nylon lock nut. Bolt. Spacer. V-wheel. And then a nut. These, we don't want to tighten them too tight because they have the eccentric reducers, and those will be adjustment points. I just get mine to where they bump the metal, and then I'll back them off quarter turn. Same thing. The next part is to put the stationary wheels, I'm going to call them, that don't have adjustment. Bolt, spacer, wheel, nut, And we're going to do it in these holes closest to the middle on both ends. These wheels here, now that they're on, these are stationary, so they don't have an eccentric spacer. So these, we need to tighten them all the way down. Okay, and the instructions, there's really no instructions that I found for the homing kit itself, but there's a step in here to put the homing kit on this plate, and I'm supposed to have bolted it, I guess, or I will be bolting it to this, so I'm going to change this bolt out. Okay, for this step, still working on the X plate, we're going to need the 2020 extrusions, M5 16 button cap screws, T-nuts, and the 4 spacers, the square ones. Okay, so turn the wheels away from you and keep it vertical. Keep the top at the top, I guess. Doesn't matter. Take a cap screw, put the cap screw in the hole below the wheel, put the spacer on, and then put one of these T-nuts, but don't screw it on there a long way, just like one turn. And do that for all 4 sides, here, here, and here. Okay, should basically look like that. And I'm assuming we're gonna probably set these up like that, and then we're going to put these rails on here. Okay, now we're gonna stick the rail on. You're gonna have to, these rails, they need to be perfectly parallel to the top. These two need to be perfectly parallel to each other. And these 2 rails need to be perfectly parallel together. And this is the top, remember? This and this needs to match perfectly. So that's the important part of putting these rails on. These are the 2020 rails that are in your package. You're going to see those. They're the short ones. And so I didn't want to take it back apart. I had a problem with my camera. But anyway, I think you understand how to put it together. It shouldn't be too difficult. But one way you can check the rails to make sure they're parallel is I used this square. And I checked it this way. And then I checked it across the top this way. And you'll get the idea once you get started. And then you want to make sure that they are parallel to each other. So you can check it that way. Go all the way down, okay? Okay, the next step says to install an anti-backlash nut in the middle on the same side as the V wheels. And so we're going to use the M5 by 16, and we're going to use that because that's what we used on all the backlash nuts. And the nuts, the nylon nuts, are already in the backlash nut because I put them all in there. going to snug that up, but not too tight. And then I'm gonna put the rod in there and just check it to make sure it's going through there pretty straight. I'm going to use my combination square and go off the side and then straighten it out as much as I can. And that's about right. And now I'll tighten that up. Now we're going to go on to the Z-plate. And for the Z-plate, we're going to need nylon washer nuts, eccentric spacers, the bolts that we used throughout the build for the wheels, and of course the wheels. All 6 of these wheels are going to go on this plate. And if you see the orientation that I have the plate right now, it's the same on both sides. So I guess you can't really get it wrong, right? So we're going to install the remaining wheels and get this. We will also install this. This will be installed right here, like this. So when we're done, we'll have wheels in all the positions here. Let's get it going. Okay, if you got that, if you did all that other, before you put this block in, according to the instructions, you're going to use this block spacer, and it says to use M5 by 25. It doesn't say machine screw specifically, but I'm going to assume that it was these, I hope. If not, I'll just have to take them out later. But it's the only ones I see here that specifically say by 25. So I'm going to use them. And I'll follow the same process with the lead screw and the adjustment. Same thing, I'm gonna put this in here and adjust it to make it pretty straight. Okay, pretty good. Okay, the next step is we're going to install the router plate, I guess is what it's going to be called, a router mount. And mine came with 2 screws already, and they're going to go in these 2 holes right here, I believe. So I'll just remove these. There is a lock washer with each of them, so we want to be sure to put those back on. I'm going to flip this plate over on the back. We're going to mount the router plate with the flat side up, not this area. So I'm going to put put a bolt through the hole first. And screw it in. Do the same thing for the other one. And I don't think there's very much play, but I'm going to square this off the side, just to be sure. So I'm going to take my square, go off the side, and line this. I don't know if you can see it or not, but I don't have it. This side here is a little low. Got it completely put together. Kind of happy with the results. Alright, I hope yours turns out good too. It might be tricky. Basically, we're going to put the X and the Z plates together, and I don't know how well I'm going to get it on camera. I'm going to try as hard as I can. We'll see how I do. First I'll show you what I did. Each of these eccentric spacers has a groove in it. That groove indicates that you're on one side or the other. If you put the groove to the inside, the wheel is going to be closer to the inside. So if you want the wheel to go to the outside, you're going to move that to the outside. I guess what I'm saying is that groove follows the wheel forward and backwards this way. So I took all of mine and I lined them to the inside all the way down on both. I lined them down on both of these. On this side too. All of them are pointing to the inside. Now, I'm going to take this plate and now this will slide through here. Okay? So this will slide in here, no problem. But what we want to do is get this a little snugger than this. If you can see that or not. I'm not doing a very good job of holding it in the camera. But I'm going to do my best to try to turn each of these reducers in here, or eccentrics, to snug these. But according to the documentation, this should still be able to turn my finger. So don't tighten it so much that you can't turn this with your finger. I am sorry. I am just not doing a very good job of filming this part. I got it in there, and it's pretty good, I guess. I'm sorry you had to watch my hand there. After you've fought with that fiasco for a while, now we got everything lined up the way it needs to be. You need to tighten your V-wheels more to permanent tightness. For the next step, you're going to need this XZ assembly plate. I think it's called a Z motor mount in the directions. A NEMA motor, it says to use the motor mount, the motor with the long cable, and I have the one with the long cable here. You're going to need the M3 split lock washers. You're going to need a button cap screw. You'll need 4 of those. It's the M3 by 10. And a motor coupler. I think this one seems a little bit straightforward. Maybe the most straightforward thing here. We'll put our washers on there. Put our motor through the plate. It's the same on both sides, so I don't see where it matters which one you put it on, which side you put it on. And I'll tighten that up. I'm going to do them across from each other so that I don't get them tightened down lopsided. Don't use this as your primary tool for putting these together. And I'm going to tell you what Allen wrenches you're going to need for this. That way you won't have to do what I'm doing. So far I have used the 1.5, the 2, the 2.5. Those are the only 3 that I've used out of here so far. This is really frustrating to do with this tool. Just like the others, go ahead and put your coupler on.